You
The
can't just walk
fluorescent
away from
lights of
this.
Lincoln
What do you want
Elementary's
from
hallway
me?
I
flickered
want you to
slightly
take
as Marcus
responsibility.
Bennett clutched the
Fine,
crumpled
what now?
schedule in his calloused hands, scanning for room 204. He was 15 minutes late to his son's parent-teacher conference, still wearing his construction boots and dust-covered jeans. The concrete powder hadn't quite washed off from his fingernails during the hurried scrub in the school bathroom. As a single father working double shifts, punctuality felt like a luxury he couldn't afford, but for 7-year-old Jamie, he'd move mountains. He always had. Marcus finally spotted the room and knocked softly, pushing the door open to find Ms. Rodriguez, a young teacher with kind eyes, sitting behind her desk surrounded by colorful alphabet posters and student artwork. She smiled warmly as he entered, gesturing to the small chair across from her, clearly meant for someone half his size. "Mr. Bennett, thank you for coming," she said, standing to shake his hand. "I've been looking forward to meeting you." Marcus settled awkwardly into the tiny chair, his knees nearly touching his chest. "Sorry I'm late. Work ran over, and traffic was." "Please, don't worry about it, Ms. Rodriguez interrupted gently. "I'm just glad you're here. I wanted to talk to you about Jamie." Marcus's stomach tightened. Those words. He'd heard them before, always followed by concerns about Jamie's silence, his challenges, the way he lived in a world that didn't quite understand him. Jamie had been born profoundly deaf, and for the past 7 years, Marcus had fought tooth and nail to ensure his son never felt less than anyone else. But Ms. Rodriguez's expression wasn't one of concern. It was something else entirely, something that looked almost like wonder. "Mr. Bennett, your son is remarkable," she began, leaning forward with her hands clasped on the desk. "His reading comprehension is above grade level, his artwork shows incredible attention to detail, and his mathematical reasoning is exceptional. But there's something else, something I need to ask you about." Marcus relaxed slightly, a proud smile tugging at his lips. "Jamie's always been smart. Takes after his mother." The last words came out quieter, tinged with a grief that time had softened but never erased. Ms. Rodriguez nodded sympathetically before continuing. "There's a new student in our class, Dmitry. He's a refugee from Ukraine, arrived just 3 weeks ago. He doesn't speak any English yet, and as you can imagine, it's been incredibly difficult for him. He sits alone at lunch, struggles to communicate his needs, and I've watched him become more withdrawn each day." She paused, her eyes glistening slightly. "Until yesterday." Marcus leaned forward, confused about where this was going. "Yesterday, I watched your son approach Dmitry during recess. And Mr. Bennett, Jamie started communicating with him using sign language. But here's what I don't understand." Her voice cracked slightly with emotion. "Dmitry was signing back. They were having a full conversation, laughing together, and for the first time since he arrived, I saw that little boy smile." Marcus felt his throat constrict. He knew exactly what his son had done. Ms. Rodriguez continued, her professional composure beginning to slip. "I did some research. I called Dmitry's caseworker. Dmitry is also deaf, Mr. Bennett. His family is still overseas, and he's living with a distant relative who doesn't know sign language. He's been completely isolated, unable to communicate with anyone, until Jamie." She wiped at her eyes quickly, embarrassed. "I'm sorry, I've been teaching for 8 years, and I've never seen anything quite like it. These two boys, from completely different parts of the world, found each other. But what I need to know is, who taught Jamie Ukrainian Sign Language?" The question hung in the air like morning mist. Marcus sat back, the small chair creaking beneath his weight, and for a moment, he was transported back 3 months earlier. It had been a Sunday, one of the rare days Marcus didn't have to work. He and Jamie had been at the library, their weekly tradition. Jamie loved the library, loved running his fingers along the spines of books, losing himself in stories where differences didn't matter. Marcus had been browsing the new releases when Jamie tugged insistently on his sleeve, pointing excitedly at a computer terminal. When Marcus looked over, he saw that Jamie had found a YouTube video about different sign languages around the world. His son's eyes were wide with fascination as he watched signers from Japan, Brazil, India, and Ukraine communicate. Jamie had looked up at his father with an expression Marcus knew well, the one that meant, "Can we learn this?" For the next 3 months, every evening after Marcus returned from work, they'd sit together at their tiny kitchen table. While Marcus made dinner, Jamie would practice new signs from different countries, his small hands moving with dedication and precision. Marcus had learned alongside him, their homemade flashcards spread across the table, giggles erupting when they got signs confused. I thought it was just a phase, Marcus had told himself. Just another one of his interests. But Jamie had been preparing. Somehow, his 7-year-old son had understood something profound. That communication was a bridge, and isolation was a prison. He'd been building bridges before he even knew who would cross them. Marcus looked at Ms. Rodriguez, this teacher who clearly cared so deeply about her students, and felt his own eyes burn with unshed tears. I didn't teach him Ukrainian Sign Language, he said quietly. Jamie taught himself. 3 months ago, he found videos online and just started learning. Every night, while I made dinner, he'd practice. I helped where I could, but this was all him. I had no idea why he wanted to learn it. I thought maybe he just liked learning languages, you know. I never imagined. His voice broke, and he couldn't continue. Ms. Rodriguez reached across the desk and squeezed his hand. Mr. Bennett, do you understand what your son did? He learned an entirely different sign language system, just in case. Just in case someone, somewhere, needed a friend. What 7-year-old thinks like that? Marcus pulled his hand back to wipe his face, no longer caring about maintaining composure. His mother, he whispered. Before she died, Sarah always told him that being different wasn't being less. She said our differences were opportunities to understand others who felt alone. I guess he actually listened. She raised an incredible young man, Ms. Rodriguez said softly. And so have you. Through the classroom window, Marcus could see the playground where recess had just begun. There was Jamie, running with a blonde-haired boy who must have been Dimitri, their hands moving in animated conversation, their laughter silent but visible in their broad smiles. 2 boys who, by all accounts, should have been separated by language, culture, and experience, had found each other in the universal language of kindness. Other children had begun to join them, pointing at their hands with curiosity. Jamie was teaching them signs, patient and generous with his knowledge, building more bridges with every gesture. Marcus stood, suddenly needing to be closer to his son. Ms. Rodriguez walked him to the window, and they stood there together, 2 adults humbled by the wisdom of children. You know what the most beautiful part is? Ms. Rodriguez said, her voice barely above a whisper. I've been asking around. There are 3 other deaf students in this district who speak different sign languages. Jamie has already asked me for their names. He's started learning Russian Sign Language now. Marcus let out a laugh that was half sob. Of course he had. Of course Jamie was already thinking about who else might need a friend. As they watched the children play, Marcus thought about all the nights he'd worried he wasn't enough, that being a single parent meant Jamie would somehow miss out on important things. He'd worried about the bills, the late nights, the missed school events, the moments when he'd been too tired to be the father he wanted to be. But somehow, despite everything, they'd raised a boy who learned languages for people he'd never met, just in case they needed not to be alone. Mr. Bennett, Ms. Rodriguez said as he prepared to leave, you asked me once if there was anything Jamie needed, any accommodations we should make. I need you to know, we're the ones learning from him. As Marcus walked back down that flickering hallway, his construction boots echoing against the linoleum, he realized something profound. We spend so much time teaching children how to succeed in the world that we forget they're busy teaching us how to be human.